So I think we've all experienced this at one point, but there are a lot of reasons why the scale won't budge. And we're going to go over 5, as I said in the title, harsh reasons why they just won't budge and what we can actually do to fix that. And as a commenter recently said, I need to work on getting to the point. So I got my handy dandy notes app so I can make sure I stay on track and get to the point. So with that said, the first reason why the scale just doesn't want to budge is because you're just eating too much. It's unfortunate, but it is true. A lot of times people are overeating, they're underestimating how much they eat, and they don't really account for all the things across the day that they're eating, like the little snacks or maybe like the bite of their kid's pizza or the rest of their kid's yogurt. That's me. I'm the yogurt finisher around here. That's a new thing I just made up. But a lot of the times all these calories are just like a little bit here and there, a little bit there. Like even if you're on a pretty strict diet, does add up and can be the difference between you being in a calorie deficit and not being in a calorie deficit. So that's the first thing to address. Is it's very likely that you are just eating too much for you and your body to start losing weight and make that scale go in the right direction. The second thing is a lot of people have no idea how much they're eating. They've never tracked a calorie in their life. They're not doing some kind of meal prep plan. They're not doing anything to really control the amount that they're eating. And they're like, oh, well, I'm only eating 1,200 calories a day. But they have no clue because they don't track. And a lot of the times it just takes a little bit of practice to learn how to track your calories by using a free app like MyFitnessPal or something else like that. So you can really get a good idea of how much you're putting in your body and how your body reacts to that amount of food. And a big part with that is being as accurate with tracking as possible, because it's really hard to know exactly how many calories per day that you're burning. I made a whole video about how to estimate this in the best way possible, but you can control exactly how much you eat by using something like a food scale, by using measuring cups, by using just very accurate measurements. And a lot of like restaurants and fast food places have nutrition information that seems to be pretty accurate, at least in my own experience. So you can fairly reliably depend on that to be pretty accurate and fit things within your calories in order to help that scale go in the right direction as well. The next thing is, you try crazy diets you'll never stick to. There's things like the smoothie diet. There's things like South Beach diet, low carb diets, keto diets, all these different kinds of diets. And some people work with them incredibly well. They like the food options. They find it easy to make, easy to eat. And that's great. If you find a diet that works for you, awesome. But if you're going ahead and trying something like the cotton ball diet, might have to, question your judgment on that one, because that was a super dangerous one. But anyway, that's not likely the case. And if it is, I'm sorry. But yeah, we gotta work on that. Keep watching the video. I got some good stuff for you. Anyway, the point is, like, all these different types of diets that are out there, like just the fruitarian diet, and that can definitely work for weight loss because fruit's not very caloric. A lot of these diets are so hard to stick with long term, and the number one thing, aside from like eating the least amount of eating the right amount of calories for you and your body to lose weight, is being in a diet that you can actually stick to long term. Because if you do a diet for a month or maybe 2, you'll get some results. But if you go back to eating the way you were before that caused you to gain all the weight in the first place, you're just going to go back to ground zero, square one, whatever you want to call it, where you're going to have to do the whole thing all over again and do this endless cycle of trying this diet, and it works for a little bit, you get sick of it, you quit it, and then you try another diet and you get sick of that, and all these different cycles over and over and over again endlessly until you just stop dieting altogether and just keep gaining weight over time. And it's just not a fun time. So finding that sustainable diet that works for you is absolutely key. The next thing is, you're not giving it enough time. I've had a lot of conversations with people when I was working at a gym as a manager, when I was training people, with my current fitness business online, where people are weighing themselves one day and then weigh themselves the next day, and the scale goes down. The day after that, the scale goes back up to higher than it was 2 days ago, and they think they're gaining weight when in reality, a lot of the times, it is just water retention. There was some video by The Wolf. He just goes by The Wolf. I can't remember his username on Instagram, but he was talking about it was something like 17 or 25 bagels to actually gain a true pound of body fat on your body. No one is eating that much in a day by accident at least, in order to actually gain a true pound of body fat on their body. And with that said, the body stores weight through, like, obviously body fat, through muscle, through bone, through skin, and through what a lot of people call water weight, which is really mostly glycogen, both in the muscle and the liver. So if you have a higher calorie day than normal, or sometimes it just seems to happen randomly, your body's going to store extra weight in the form of glycogen, which can make a difference between one day being a higher day, one day being a lower day when the body seems to flush it out for whatever reason it decides to, and then back up and back down. It happens a lot. And then sometimes you'll be at the same weight for like a week, and then all of a sudden your weight drops by like 3 or 4 pounds out of nowhere, and it's just crazy. It's called the whoosh effect, but really all that is your body just kind of flushing out the extra glycogen and kind of getting you that more flat look. And those are the days that if you've been higher body fat for a while and you have all that glycogen flush out, it looks pretty cool. But if you're already really lean and then that glycogen flushes out, you don't get the crazy pump look. It's just, it's not a fun time mentally. Anyway, moving on, that's one thing. You just need to give it more time. We're talking like a time frame, like a good frame of reference for a time frame is somewhere between like 4 to 6 weeks to really see actual visual progress on your body, but also to get enough data to see what's really working. Like you can get some good enough data in 2 weeks on the scale, and we're going to talk about what to do with that in a second. But really that 4 to 6 weeks is that range where you have some absolutely solid information about how your diet's working. If you've already calculated stuff like your TDEE, get the calorie deficit, which we're going to talk about in a moment as well. So the last reason why the scale won't seem to budge is because you're not weighing in every single day. And this goes hand in hand with the other one with not giving it enough time. But essentially, if you're not weighing every day, you don't know what is actually happening on the scale. You could have those random weigh-ins where it's going up and down and staying the same, and you just don't know. Like you just happen to pick a random day on the calendar. However, if you want to get a really solid bit of information, what I recommend is weighing yourself every single day. First thing in the morning, when you wake up, go to the bathroom, step on the scale, and then log that weight for the day. You can use MyFitnessPal is a good way to track it. You can get a little graph with it, which is pretty cool too. But you just write it down or track it in MyFitnessPal every single day for every day of the week. And then what will happen is at the end of the week, you can take a 7-day average where you add up your weight from each and every day and divide by 7, and that'll give you an average weight for the week. And what that'll do is you could do that first week compared to the second week to see a much more fair and accurate way of measuring your actual progress. And that's a very, very useful bit of information because in those shorter time frames, like that 2, even 4 or 6 weeks, you're not going to see a dramatic visual change. You might see some, but with that weighing every single day, average week to week, if you're doing what I'm about to share in a little bit correctly, you'll be able to see exactly what's happening, even if sometimes the weight is higher one day, some days it's lower. And a lot of times that number on the scale doesn't make a lot of sense, but if you want to use it as a tool, that's exactly how to do it. So what we want to do with all these information, like all this information I've just shared with you, is turn it into something you can actually use to fix your diet. Now, how I do diet, and I've made plenty of videos about this, so I'll just give you a little bit of a primer here, is I track calories and I track protein. MyFitnessPal is a really good way to start. You can also use a TDEE calculator, a total daily energy expenditure calculator online, to estimate your total calorie burn for the day. And then you take away 300 to 500 calories from that, and that's your calorie goal for each and every day of the week, 7 days a week. And then for protein, at least 120 grams, dietary fat, at least 40 grams, and then the rest, just the carbs, that just falls where it might, based on how you eat while you fit in calories and protein. And that's dieting. That is the simplest way to take that approach. This is something that works incredibly well for me as a dad of 2, doing all kinds of things each and every day, including these rambling videos. But yeah, so that's how you do it. And then that way you have some practical thing you can do in order to skip all the stuff we just talked about and just get down to the things that actually work. And a lot of people will argue that calories aren't the same or they just don't work for them. If you are honest with yourself and you track every single day and you include all the snacks and the condiments and the drinks and the bites of this and the bites of that, you will have a very clear picture of how food is working with you and your body and your goals, and see how it impacts everything that you're doing and the fitness progress that you're making. So hopefully you found this helpful or insightful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Go ahead and check out one of the videos here. YouTube's going to recommend one, and one is my most recent video. If either of those seem appealing to you, go ahead and check them out. Subscribe if you want, and head over to the link in the description where you can check out my in-depth program, which walks you through all the steps, and I give you ongoing support as well. But that's all for now. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll talk to you next time.